My name is Dr. William Carter. I've spent over 4 decades inside hospitals, standing over operating tables, looking directly into the fragile chambers of the human heart. I've fought alongside thousands of patients, battling heart attacks, repairing clogged arteries, replacing valves worn thin by time. I've seen life slip through my fingers and been fortunate enough to save it more times than I can count. Now, in my retirement, I find myself haunted not by the surgeries, not by the long nights or the close calls, but by something far more unsettling. You see, after all these years, I've come to realize a cruel irony that most people never consider. For millions of seniors, the greatest threat to their hearts is not hidden inside their DNA, nor lurking in their diet, nor even written in their family history. No. The danger is sitting quietly in their own homes, tucked neatly behind the mirrored doors of their medicine cabinets. It's wrapped in plastic bottles, labeled with dosages, stamped with doctor's instructions, and swallowed each morning with a glass of water. These pills were prescribed with good intentions by well-meaning doctors who wanted to ease pain, regulate blood sugar, stabilize moods, help you sleep, or control blood pressure. They're familiar. They feel safe. After all, you've likely been taking them for years, maybe even decades. Some may have been started when you were 50, long before your hair turned gray or your hands began to tremble. And back then, they probably helped. But what I need you to hear, what I need you to fully understand is that your body at 60, 70, or 80 is not the same as your body at 45. The medication that once brought relief may now be quietly poisoning the very organ it was meant to protect. And most tragically of all, you may never even feel it happening until it's far too late. I cannot tell you how many times I've had seniors come into my office, gasping for breath after climbing a single flight of stairs, or collapsing from sudden dizzy spells, or feeling an exhaustion so deep it's as if their own bodies are betraying them. They look at me puzzled, certain that age is to blame, or perhaps too much salt, or maybe some stress at home. But when I dig deeper, I discover a more sinister truth, a slow, silent assault on their heart function, waged not by some outside force, but by the very medications they trust. You see, medications are tools, powerful, effective tools. But like any tool, when used for too long, too often, or without careful monitoring, they can turn against you. Some of these drugs slowly strain the heart muscle, elevate your blood pressure, interfere with your heartbeat, or rob your body of essential nutrients that your heart depends on to stay strong. And worst of all, many of these side effects are so subtle, they masquerade as natural aging. Mild swelling in your ankles, occasional shortness of breath, sudden fatigue after simple chores, these don't always feel alarming at first, but behind them may be years of cumulative damage. I'm not here to create panic, but I won't sugarcoat the truth either. The cost of ignorance is simply too high. Every week I meet patients who arrive at my clinic already in the advanced stages of heart failure. Not because of a sudden event, but because of this quiet, steady erosion that was allowed to continue unchecked for years. Let me be very clear. I am not telling you to stop taking your medications. That is not my message. Each of these drugs was prescribed for a reason, and abruptly stopping them can be dangerous. But what I am saying is this: you deserve to know the full truth. You deserve to understand what risks may be hiding in your daily routine. You deserve to have conversations with your doctor that go deeper than simply refilling a prescription. Because here's the cold, hard fact that no one tells you. Your doctor may not even realize the cumulative effect these pills are having on your aging heart. Modern medicine moves fast. New research often reveals dangers in drugs that were once thought safe. And many physicians, overwhelmed with full schedules and under pressure to move quickly, simply don't have time to revisit every long-standing prescription. That responsibility falls to you to stay informed, to ask questions, to advocate for your own heart. That's why I've decided to speak out now. In my retirement, because I have nothing to sell, no agenda, and no pharmaceutical company whispering in my ear. I only have my years of experience and far too many memories of patients who might still be alive today, if they had known what I'm about to share. In this video, I will reveal 7 medications, 7 pills that millions of seniors across America take every single day. Medications that may be silently, invisibly damaging your heart. Some are familiar. Some are sitting in your kitchen right now. Others you may have trusted for decades without ever suspecting the harm they've been quietly causing. We will count them down from number 7 to number 1. And I warn you now, the final one on this list is the most common, the most widely prescribed, and in many cases the most dangerous. If you are over 60 or if you love someone who is, I urge you please stay with me until the very end. What you learn today may quite literally save your life. And before we begin, I ask you for one small favor. If you find this information valuable, please subscribe to this channel. Your support allows me to continue sharing the hard truths, the overlooked risks, and the life-saving knowledge that can protect you and your family in the years ahead. This isn't entertainment, this is survival. Now, let me ask you one question to consider as we dive into this. If you had to choose which is more dangerous for your heart after age 60, A. The unhealthy foods you eat. B. The medications you take daily. Drop your answer A or B in the comment section below. I promise you, by the time we finish, you may see things very differently than you do right now. As a doctor who has spent my life inside the world of hearts, seeing them beat, struggle, and sometimes fail, I've learned one unshakable truth. Not all damage comes from the obvious threats we fear. Some of the deadliest harm comes dressed in the disguise of relief, wrapped in bottles we reach for every morning without hesitation. Now that we've begun this journey, it's time to face two of the most common categories of medications that quietly sabotage the heart: pain medications and diabetes. Drugs. Let me start with pain, that constant gnawing ache that haunts so many seniors every single day. Arthritis, joint pain, stiffness in the back. Inflamed knees that once carried you through long walks and family vacations, but now protest even the smallest movement. It's natural that so many turn to the little bottles marked relief, sitting on pharmacy shelves. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, or NSAIDs. They carry familiar names like ibuprofen and naproxen. You don't need a prescription. You don't even need to ask anyone. They're simply there. And that's exactly the danger. NSAIDs have become so normalized, so embedded into the daily routines of people over 60, that few stop to consider what happens beneath the surface of every pill swallowed. These drugs reduce inflammation, yes, but at a hidden cost. You see, every time you take an NSAID, you're not only quieting the pain in your joints. You're also subtly tightening the pressure inside your arteries. NSAIDs raise blood pressure, even if you've never had hypertension before. They encourage your body to retain sodium in fluids, leading to swelling in your ankles and lower legs. You may dismiss it as harmless puffiness. It isn't. That fluid doesn't simply vanish. It forces your heart to work harder every minute of every day, pushing against a growing resistance within your bloodstream. And for a heart already growing older, perhaps already weakened by years of wear and tear, that extra workload can be the breaking point. The human heart isn't a machine built for endless strain. Eventually, it begins to falter, beat irregularly, or weaken entirely, all while you continue reaching for the pills you believe are helping you. Worse yet, NSAIDs quietly sabotage the kidneys, impairing their ability to filter waste efficiently, which creates a vicious cycle of rising fluid levels and elevated blood pressure, both merciless enemies of your heart. I've had patients who were meticulous about their diets, who walked every day, who never smoked, and yet they arrived at my clinic with breathlessness, swollen legs, and congestive heart failure simply because they'd relied for too long on daily NSAIDs, believing them harmless. The tragedy is not that these drugs exist, but that their dangers go unspoken for far too long. Relief from pain must never come at the price of surrendering your heart. And yet pain medications are only one side of the silent war inside the medicine cabinet. The other, perhaps even more insidious, hides beneath the sweet promise of blood sugar control. Type 2 diabetes is a shadow that lengthens over the lives of millions of seniors. And with it comes a class of medications known as thiazolidinediones, drugs like pioglitazone, prescribed to lower blood sugar and keep diabetes at bay. At first glance, they appear to be life-saving allies. But as I have witnessed too many times, they carry a dangerous secret. Thiazolidinediones work by changing the way your body stores and responds to insulin. But as they do so, they also encourage your body to retain fluid, leading to swelling not only in the legs, but deep within your body's tissues. This isn't the harmless kind of water weight that vanishes after a few days of careful diet. No, this is insidious fluid retention that slowly smothers your heart's ability to pump efficiently. For patients who are already at high risk of cardiovascular disease, as nearly all seniors with diabetes are, this creates a ticking time bomb. Your heart must now push against not just the natural resistance of your arteries, but against a growing flood of fluid pooling throughout your system. The chambers of your heart begin to enlarge, stretching to handle the burden, but at great cost to their strength and rhythm. Over time, this weakens the very muscle that sustains your life, bringing you closer to the cliff edge of congestive heart failure. The cruelest twist is that many of the early symptoms of this damage can easily be overlooked or misinterpreted. Fatigue? That's just old age. People say shortness of breath? Probably out of shape. Swelling? Maybe too much salt last night. And while you minimize these signs, the medication continues its silent work, slowly dismantling your heart's ability to function, inch by inch, beat by beat. I've had heartbreaking conversations with patients and their families, who sat stunned when I explained that the very pill they thought was keeping their diabetes under control had been undermining their heart's health all along. I wish I could tell you these cases were rare. They are not. I have seen this pattern repeat itself more times than I care to remember. And yet thiazolidinediones remain widely prescribed, often because they are effective at lowering blood sugar, which gives both doctors and patients a false sense of security. But you must never forget, lowering blood sugar at the expense of weakening your heart is a trade-off that can cost you far more in the long run. There are newer, safer alternatives available today. But far too many seniors are still living with outdated prescriptions, written years ago, rarely re-evaluated, silently eroding the very organ they most depend on. This is why I continue to speak. Because once you understand these hidden dangers, you are no longer powerless. You can have conversations with your doctor that ask the deeper questions. Is this still the best medication for me at my age? Are there safer alternatives today that protect both my heart and my blood sugar? You deserve those answers. Your heart deserves that protection. Pain and diabetes, two conditions that so often travel together as we age, should never force you into sacrificing your heart on the altar of temporary relief. The true goal of medicine is not simply to manage symptoms, but to preserve life, to guard the very engine that keeps you alive, your heart. We have only just begun. The medications I've revealed so far are common, but what lies ahead may shock you even more. In the next part of this journey, I will uncover medications used to soothe sleep troubles and balance moods, drugs trusted by millions of seniors every night, but which carry their own hidden threats to the heart. Stay with me. What you learn next may be even more important than what you've heard so far. Throughout my years as a physician, I've witnessed something particularly cruel unfold in the lives of my older patients. It is not simply the pain of aging, nor the struggle with blood sugar that we have already discussed. No. It is the slow erosion of something far more intimate, the ability to sleep and the fragile balance of the mind. And in their desperate search for peace at night and calm during the day, many seniors unknowingly trade one danger for another, swallowing pills that, while promising rest and relief, slowly place an unbearable burden upon the heart. Let us begin where countless of my patients have stood, in front of their nightstands, staring down at a small white pill they have come to trust as their nightly companion. Sleep is elusive in old age. The body becomes restless, the mind refuses to quiet itself, and worries of the past and future circle endlessly in the dark. And so they reach for sedative hypnotics, drugs like zolpidem, known to many by its brand name, or older medications like diazepam, a member of the benzodiazepine family. When first prescribed, these medications feel like salvation. A night of full sleep returns, the anxiety dulls. The racing thoughts give way to stillness. But as the months turn to years, a sinister exchange occurs within the body, one that most patients cannot feel, but which I have seen far too often in my clinic. These drugs do not simply induce sleep. They dampen the entire nervous system. They slow the brain's signals to every corner of the body, including the heart. Your heart, like your brain, relies on an intricate network of electrical signals to maintain its steady rhythm, ready to accelerate when you climb stairs or slow when you rest. But sedative hypnotics suppress this finely tuned system. They lower your heart rate beyond what aging alone would do, blunting its ability to respond to even modest stress or physical demand. What seems like a peaceful night's rest is, in fact, often a night where the heart is left vulnerable, unable to fully regulate itself as it once did. Over time, this can contribute to dangerous nighttime phenomena such as sleep apnea, a condition where breathing periodically stops throughout the night. Many seniors do not even realize it is happening. They simply feel exhausted in the morning, believing the poor sleep is due to age or a restless mind. But with each apneic episode, oxygen is cut off. The heart panics in the darkness, surging its rhythm erratically, struggling to compensate for the deprivation of air. This chronic stress quietly wears down the heart muscle and throws its rhythm into disarray. I have lost patients not to catastrophic heart attacks, but to these silent nighttime assaults that no one ever warned them about. Beyond sleep itself, sedatives interfere with medications designed to protect the heart. Many seniors take beta blockers, ACE inhibitors, or other heart medications carefully balanced to stabilize blood pressure and rhythm. But when combined with sedative hypnotics, these life-preserving drugs can lose their delicate balance. The heart slows too much, the blood pressure drops too low, and the patient finds themselves dizzy, lightheaded, or suddenly falling, often with devastating consequences. And yet, it is not only sleep that leads seniors into this trap. Emotional pain, too, drives many toward pills in search of peace. Depression, anxiety, chronic grief, these are burdens that do not fade simply because the calendar advances. Older adults face losses that cut deep: spouses who pass, friends who grow distant, children who move away. Loneliness becomes a daily companion. And into this vulnerable space enter the tricyclic antidepressants, older medications such as amitriptyline and nortriptyline, still prescribed by some physicians despite the emergence of safer alternatives. At first glance, they offer hope. The mood lifts. The weight eases. Life seems manageable again. But beneath this short-term relief lies a cardiovascular risk few patients are ever warned about. Tricyclic antidepressants alter the very electrical wiring of the heart, interfering with the signals that keep its rhythm steady and reliable. They can cause heart block, a dangerous slowing or complete interruption of the electrical impulses that allow your heart to contract properly. In some cases, I have seen these medications cause fainting spells, episodes of extreme dizziness, and even falls that leave patients hospitalized with broken bones or worse. For seniors who already possess borderline slow heart rates or underlying arrhythmias, these drugs can be particularly unforgiving. A minor irregularity in someone younger may be manageable. In an aging heart, it can tip the balance entirely, creating a cascade of failures that often end in emergency rooms or intensive care units. And still, these medications persist. Why? Often, it is habit. A physician who prescribed them decades ago when they were the standard of care, and who never revisited the choice as the patient aged. Sometimes it is familiarity. The patient feels stable and fears switching to something new. And too often, it is simple oversight. The assumption that because a medication helped for years, it must still be safe now. But this is precisely where the great danger lies. What served you well at 50 may quietly poison you at 70. The aging heart does not forgive easily. Its margin for error shrinks with every passing year. The interplay between the brain's chemistry and the heart's rhythm becomes increasingly fragile. Medications that seem to touch only the mind, in truth, reach into the very core of your cardiovascular health. I speak of these things not to frighten you, but to give you what so many seniors have been denied: knowledge. With knowledge comes the power to protect yourself. You must ask your physician, with courage and clarity, whether the drugs you rely on for sleep or emotional stability remain the best choice for you today. Demand a review of your prescriptions. Inquire about newer options that spare the heart while addressing your struggles. The mind and the heart are bound together in ways we are only beginning to fully appreciate. And while modern medicine has made extraordinary progress, it has also left many seniors clinging to outdated treatments that fail to respect the vulnerabilities of aging hearts. I have watched too many patients fall victim to this blind spot. My mission, in these years of retirement, is to ensure that you are not among them. Our journey continues. The pills we've discussed thus far are common, but what comes next strikes even closer to home: over-the-counter remedies and stomach medications that millions take daily, believing them to be harmless, when in truth they carry risks far more severe than most ever suspect. Stay with me, because your heart's future may depend on what you learn next. Throughout my long career as a physician, I have learned that some of the most dangerous medications are not the powerful prescription, drugs locked behind a pharmacist's counter. No, some of the greatest threats sit quietly in plain sight, available without a prescription, trusted by millions, swallowed casually as part of daily routines. Because they're easy to buy, they're easy to believe in. And yet, they carry hidden risks that have placed far too many seniors under my care, fighting for their lives against heart damage they never saw coming. Let me take you first to the common cold aisle, the place where many Americans over 60 wander in search of simple relief for stuffy noses and seasonal allergies. Decongestants. Tiny pills promising easy breathing, freedom from congestion, and a good night's sleep during allergy season or the winter flu. Names like pseudoephedrine and phenylephrine sit on those shelves like old friends. They're cheap, they're accessible, and they seem harmless. But I've seen the cost of these pills firsthand. You see, decongestants work by narrowing your blood vessels. That's how they shrink the swollen tissues in your nasal passages and clear your stuffy nose. But the problem is this: they do not discriminate. They don't just narrow the blood vessels in your nose. They constrict blood vessels throughout your entire body, including the ones feeding your heart. For a young, healthy person, this temporary tightening of blood vessels may seem insignificant. But for someone over 60, especially someone already carrying the burdens of hypertension, weakened arteries, or early-stage heart disease, this added pressure can become a silent killer. Every vessel in your body becomes tighter, your blood pressure rises, and your heart is forced to work harder to push blood through an increasingly narrow system. And while you may not feel it immediately, your heart absolutely feels it. Each beat becomes more difficult. The workload on your heart increases. For some patients, this can be enough to trigger arrhythmias, irregular heart rhythms that feel like fluttering, palpitations, or sudden pounding in the chest. For others, the blood pressure spike alone is enough to send them into cardiac distress. But here's what makes decongestants so deceptively dangerous: because they are sold over the counter, people rarely view them with the same caution they would apply to prescription drugs. Many seniors I've treated have used them frequently, sometimes daily, without realizing that the very pills they thought were helping them breathe were simultaneously strangling their cardiovascular system. Worse still, as we age, our sensitivity to these drugs increases. What felt tolerable at 40 can become life-threatening at 70. I have had patients come to my office, anxious, dizzy, their hearts racing, and their blood pressure dangerously elevated, and all from a simple cold medication they had taken for years without a second thought. It was only when we looked closely that we saw the true culprit sitting innocently in their medicine cabinet. But decongestants are not alone in this silent war against the aging heart. There is another class of drugs that concerns me even more because of how widespread and casually they are used: proton pump inhibitors. ORPP is medications like omeprazole and pantoprazole used to treat acid reflux and heartburn. In today's world, these pills have become almost a reflex. Heartburn after dinner? Pop a pill. A little reflux at night? Another pill. Many seniors have taken these drugs daily for years, believing them to be entirely safe, and rarely has anyone told them otherwise. And yet, I have seen the long-term consequences of this blind trust. PP is work by drastically reducing the amount of stomach acid your body produces. This may sound harmless, even beneficial, but stomach acid exists for a reason far beyond simply digesting food. It plays a critical role in absorbing essential nutrients your body needs to maintain proper function. And among the most crucial of these is magnesium. Magnesium is absolutely vital to your heart's rhythm. Without it, your heartbeat becomes unstable. Irregular rhythms emerge, your muscles weaken, fatigue sets in. Over years of PPI use, your magnesium levels can quietly drop without you realizing it, until one day you find yourself dizzy, weak, and your heart misfiring in ways that leave even the best doctors scrambling for answers. But the dangers do not stop there. Long-term suppression of stomach acid alters the balance of bacteria in your gut, a complex ecosystem that, when disturbed, can lead to systemic inflammation throughout the body. And inflammation, as modern cardiology continues to reveal, is a major driver of heart disease. The same pills meant to calm your stomach may, over years, fan the flames of silent inflammation that weakens your heart from within. And yet, like the decongestants, PPs are easy to obtain. They're marketed as safe for daily use. Many seniors have taken them for years, believing they were simply treating an annoying nuisance, unaware that each passing year of PPI use may be subtly increasing their risk of serious cardiac consequences. I've seen too many patients who arrived in my office exhausted, struggling to catch their breath, their hearts stumbling through erratic rhythms. And the trail so often leads back to these familiar bottles sitting on the kitchen counter, they are not bad medications in themselves. They serve an important purpose when used correctly and for short durations. But when they are used long-term, particularly in seniors whose hearts grow more vulnerable with each passing year, they demand a level of caution and medical supervision that few people ever receive. The tragedy in both of these cases, decongestants and PP, is not that the drugs exist, but that the conversations about their long-term risks almost never happen. Physicians are often too busy. Patients assume that over-the-counter means safe. And so the cycle continues, quietly damaging hearts across this country, one pill at a time. That is why I speak today. Because you deserve to know. You deserve to ask your doctor hard questions. You deserve to re-examine whether these pills that once helped you are still the safest option now that you are older. Do not be afraid to challenge long-standing prescriptions. Do not assume that because I've always taken it means it's still safe. As we move forward, we approach the most dangerous category of all, a group of medications that were designed to protect the heart itself. Yet, when misused or left unmonitored in seniors, may end up doing the very opposite. Stay with me, because what comes next may open your eyes in ways you never expected. After all the years I spent in the operating room, standing beside fragile hearts, I came to understand something that most people never get the chance to witness. Not all harm to the heart is sudden. It doesn't always come with crushing chest pain or dramatic collapse. Sometimes it arrives quietly, slowly, over years, one pill at a time. And among all the medications I've seen patients take, there is one group that, more than any other, has quietly pushed aging hearts past their limit. These pills are not unfamiliar. In fact, they are often prescribed with the best intentions, to lower blood pressure, to ease chest pain, to prevent arrhythmias. But for many seniors, they can become the very reason the heart begins to fail. I'm talking about calcium channel blockers. When I first began practicing medicine decades ago, calcium channel blockers were considered a breakthrough. They allowed doctors to relax the arteries, reduce blood pressure, and give relief to those with angina, the chest pain that often signals an oxygen-starved heart. Drugs like verapamil and diltiazem became staples in managing cardiovascular disease. But what we did not fully understand back then, and what I've seen unfold again and again in my career, is that these medications behave very differently in the aging body. You see, calcium channel blockers do not just relax the arteries. Many of them also slow down the electrical activity of the heart. They reduce the speed and strength with which the heart contracts. For a younger patient with strong cardiac function, this can be helpful. But in someone over 60, especially someone whose heart may already be weakened, that effect can cross a dangerous line. I have seen patients who began experiencing fatigue so deep they could barely make it through the day, who found themselves gasping after climbing a few steps, who suddenly began fainting or collapsing without warning. Their blood tests looked fine, their cholesterol was under control. But when I examined their pulse, slow, irregular, faint, I knew something was wrong. And time after time, the common denominator was a calcium channel blocker, quietly tipping the balance of their heart's rhythm just enough to push them toward heart failure. These medications can cause bradycardia, a dangerously slow heart rate, which in seniors can lead to dizziness, confusion, and even falls that cause broken hips or head injuries. I've treated patients who had no idea their pills were responsible. They believed the fatigue was just aging. They thought the swelling in their legs was due to the summer heat. But these are warning signs. When your heart slows too much, blood begins to pool. Fluid accumulates in the legs, the lungs. Breath becomes short. Sleep becomes restless. And unless someone connects the dots, the slow deterioration continues unchecked. What makes calcium channel blockers particularly dangerous is how subtly they interfere with other medications. Seniors often take multiple prescriptions for cholesterol, blood pressure, blood thinners, or diabetes. Calcium channel blockers can amplify the effects of some of these drugs or blunt the impact of others, creating a storm of interactions that many doctors, even with the best of intentions, fail to anticipate. And because symptoms often resemble general aging, fatigue, swelling, weakness, these effects are often dismissed or misattributed. That is perhaps the most heartbreaking part. The silent suffering, the delayed recognition, the missed opportunity to intervene early. I remember one patient, a man in his 70s, who came to me after collapsing in his garden. He was strong, active, and independent. But over the previous year, he had grown tired, unsteady, and increasingly forgetful. His family thought it might be early dementia. But I looked at his list of medications and immediately recognized the risk. He had been on verapamil for almost 10 years. No one had adjusted the dose. No one had checked whether his aging heart could still tolerate the medication. When we monitored him overnight, we saw it. His heart rate was dipping into the 30s during sleep, dangerously low. That night, he could have died. We adjusted his medications, and in the weeks that followed, his energy returned, his mind cleared, and the man he used to be began to re-emerge. I share this not to criticize the use of calcium channel blockers, but to emphasize the urgent need for awareness. These drugs have their place. They can be life-saving when used properly and monitored closely. But in seniors, the margin for error is razor-thin. What worked at 60 may become dangerous at 75. The aging heart is more sensitive. Its electrical system is more fragile. Its tolerance for interference is far less forgiving. And that's why you, as a patient or someone who loves a senior, must not wait for something to go wrong. Talk to your doctor. Ask, is this medication still right for me at my age? Insist on pulse and blood pressure monitoring, especially if you're feeling more tired than usual, if you notice swelling, or if your heart feels like it's skipping beats. And most importantly, don't accept vague answers. You are not just growing old. You may be reacting to something that can be adjusted, improved, or even removed. So many hospitalizations I've witnessed in the last years of my practice were not caused by heart attacks or strokes, but by the slow, unnoticed effects of medications like calcium channel blockers. People weren't dying from disease. They were dying from the side effects of the very drugs meant to help them live longer. That is what drove me to speak now, in my retirement. I no longer carry a scalpel, but I still carry the truth. If there is one message I hope you carry with you today, it is this: aging does not have to mean surrender. You have the right to understand what you put in your body. You have the right to question, to revisit, to revise. Especially when the pills you take each day may be weakening your heart, one beat at a time. Now that we've reached the end of this list, I ask you to look back not with fear, but with clarity. Every medication I've mentioned was developed to help, and in many cases, they still do. But only when used wisely, carefully, and with full understanding of the risks. Knowledge is the medicine that empowers you. It is the prescription no doctor can write for you, but one you can choose to take every single day. And if this message resonated with you, I ask you to share it. Subscribe to this channel, not for me, but for someone you love who may be taking one of these medications right now, unaware of what it's doing to their heart. What you learn may not only change a life, it may save one. After spending a lifetime treating hearts, repairing valves, unclogging arteries, and sitting beside families in their most vulnerable moments, I have come to recognize that some of the greatest threats we face are not sudden or dramatic. They are slow. They are quiet. They hide in the corners of our daily routines, in the simple pills we take without a second thought, in the prescriptions that have followed us for years. These dangers don't come in the form of a sharp pain or a racing heartbeat. They creep in silently, disguised as habit, disguised as normalcy. The tragedy, as I have witnessed far too many times, is not that these medications exist. Most were created with good intentions and have saved countless lives when used appropriately. The tragedy is how easily we, especially as we grow older, slip into a kind of medical autopilot, trusting that what once worked will always work, assuming that because something is familiar, it must still be safe. But aging changes the rules. What helped you at 40 may slowly weaken you at 70. Your heart, my friend, is not static. It ages with you. Its strength, its rhythm, its delicate electrical patterns all shift with time. And yet, for millions of seniors, prescriptions remain untouched for decades, written once and simply renewed year after year. The body changes, but the medication remains the same, and all the while, the heart quietly absorbs the consequences. The lesson I hope you carry from this is not one of fear, but of empowerment. You are not helpless. You are not a passive passenger on this journey. You have the ability and the responsibility to question, to learn, and to advocate for yourself. Your doctor may be highly skilled and deeply caring, but even the best physicians cannot feel what you feel, cannot live inside your body as you do. You must bring your concerns forward. You must ask whether your prescriptions are still the best for you today, not simply whether they were once helpful. Medicine is advancing every year. New, safer options are available for many conditions that previously had only limited solutions. But unless you begin the conversation, these alternatives may never be offered. Too often, doctors simply continue what seems to be working because no one asks to revisit the plan. It falls on you to raise your voice, to say, I want to make sure this is still right for my heart today. Beyond advocating for yourself, you can apply this awareness to your loved ones, your parents, your spouse, your friends, who may also be silently walking this same path. Have conversations. Share what you've learned. Encourage them to review their medications, to watch for subtle signs like fatigue, dizziness, swelling, or changes in breathing that may be warning signals of something deeper. The knowledge you now hold could very well save not only your life but the lives of those you love. I have dedicated these later years of my life to sharing this knowledge because I have seen too many lives lost, not to sudden illness, but to years of quiet neglect not out of carelessness, but out of blind trust. If I can help even one person step off that path, then all my years of experience, all my time spent in operating rooms and hospital wards, will have been worth it. And now as we close, I invite you to reflect and engage. Please take a moment to answer this simple question. Have you ever personally reviewed your medications with your doctor to ensure they are still the safest choices for your age? A yes, I regularly review my medications. B no, I have not done this but plan to after watching this. Please type your answer in the comments below, A or B, and feel free to share your thoughts. Your response may encourage others who are silently wondering the same. And if you found this video helpful, I humbly ask for your support. Please subscribe to this channel as it allows me to continue creating more educational content for seniors and their families. If you feel called to do so, you may also choose to donate, no matter how small the amount. I am an old doctor now, but I remain committed to using my years of experience to serve as long as I can. Your encouragement, through your subscription, your comments, and your donations, gives me the strength and means to keep sharing these life-saving insights with you. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your willingness to take responsibility for your own heart. May you stay strong, stay informed, and stay heart safe.